There's a video doing the social media rounds right now, which is frankly pretty scary. It shows security camera footage of a Tesla Model 3 in China ploughing into an overturned truck on a Chinese highway. The truck, previously overturned through another accident, is lying with its roof facing towards oncoming traffic across the two fastest lanes. A man, presumably the driver of the truck, is ahead of the overturned vehicle, warning traffic of the hazard ahead, and a Tesla Model 3, travelling on its own in the fast lane, appears to not slow down until it's almost at the man in the road. He jumps to the side of the road to avoid the car as it starts to brake to avoid him. We see a momentary cloud of smoke as the brakes bite. The white Model 3 then continues along the road, hitting the roof of the upturned truck at speed. The truck is pushed some way along the road with the impact of the crash. No serious injuries were reportedly sustained by anyone in the accident. We're not posting footage of the crash here because, first, we don't want to be sensationalist about this. Second, we have a point of not posting video footage of accidents, especially if there's an ongoing investigation or someone was injured. And third, we're not comfortable that we have rights to reproduce this video even though we're reporting on the news, especially as 2 or 3 versions of this video have already been taken down offline with copyright problems. Translations of the original news reports covering this accident in Chinese seem pretty vague on the question of if Autopilot was actually activated at the time of the accident or not. Here's an example, quote, "He confesses, the driver, to the police that the auxiliary system was turned on at the time and the self-driving state was not adopted." That's what the translation says. Yet many sites are already going with the autopilot crash mantra. Since I don't speak any Chinese language and I haven't seen any decent English language direct reporting of this, I feel unable to pass judgment one way or the other. But yet again, this highlighted accident can teach us some things about using autopilot and other autonomous and semi-autonomous systems to assist us as we drive. And just a warning, in the interests of trying to be comprehensive, this video is going to be a little on the long side. First up, we need to look at the accident statistics to understand where we've come and where we are today, just to put things in a nice context. And yes, while this accident didn't result in a fatality, I am going to look at fatality statistics because that's what I've had easy access to from a historical context. Then I'm going to look specifically at Tesla's crash statistics to put those in context. And then I'm going to explain why I am a firm believer that while semi-autonomous driver assistance technologies are fantastic, we are never going to truly have safe, autonomous and semi-autonomous systems until the only thing humans do in those cars is to select their destination on a touchscreen. For as long as there have been automobiles on the roads, people have suffered accidents, some minor, some major, and some, sadly, have died as a consequence of an accident. Back in the early 1920s, 100 years ago, when vehicle ownership was starting to balloon thanks to the successes of the Model T Ford, an average of 24.09 people died in car crashes for every million vehicle miles travelled. By the 1960s, that had dropped to 5.06 people using the same metric. And in the past 40 years that I've been on this planet, automotive safety has continued to evolve thanks to ever stringent safety testing procedures, improved vehicle design, better understanding of how vehicles behave in collisions, and the advent of things like airbags, composite materials, leaps in computer processing, and of course, computer-assisted safety figures like collision avoidance and emergency braking systems. How much have things improved though? Well, in 1979, the year I was born, 3.34 people died for every million miles travelled in the US, and in 2018, 1.13 people died for every million vehicle miles travelled. A side note, while the number of fatalities and injuries per million vehicle miles travelled has continued a pretty decent downward trend, save for a few spikes here and there, we've seen a recent increase in fatalities per capita population. So how is this possible? Well, it's got more to do with the fact that more people are driving further to get to work, so the number of miles travelled is, on average, higher per person. It's frankly why I think it's more important to look at accidents and fatalities per million miles and the number of miles travelled between accidents and fatalities on average, rather than accidents and fatalities per capita population. Which brings me really nicely to Tesla's own statistics. Data shows that Tesla's Autopilot semi-autonomous driver assistance system, which I should reiterate and underscore in big black letters, is currently not fully autonomous, just keeps getting safer and safer. But here's the thing. Even when Tesla's Autopilot system is not engaged to take over some of the driving duties, there are elements of Tesla's system which sit in the background to keep watch over the human driver. Most automakers today do have some form of always-on safety system, keeping watch to either apply the brakes or help avoid a collision by swerving when safe. The efficacy of those systems depends on individual circumstances and individual customers and individual automakers. Keep that in mind because I'll come back to that in a second. Tesla's most recent vehicle safety report, it publishes one every quarter, shows that during Q1 of this year, there was an accident or accident-like event every 4.68 million miles driven with Autopilot engaged and active. For Tesla drivers who do not have Autopilot engaged, one accident occurred every 1.99 million miles. Those cars had Autopilot, just not engaged. For Teslas without Autopilot, there was one accident registered every 1.42 million miles. Oh, and I should probably throw in here that because there's no engine up front, electric cars tend to be better in frontal collisions for their occupants because there's no huge aluminium block to transfer impact energy through to the passenger cabin. The average from NHTSA data in the US shows that in the US during Q1, there was an accident on average every 479,000 miles. That's much more frequent than any of Tesla's figures. Of course, due to COVID and other impacts, the total miles driven by people in cars during Q1 this year was a lot lower than it was in previous quarters and previous years. But nevertheless, the spread of data shows that Autopilot cars are on average safer than non-Autopilot cars, and by association, we can assume that other equally competent systems, both in development and coming to market, GM's Super Cruise is a good example, will be similarly safe. But even though using Autopilot or having Autopilot watching in the background appears to significantly reduce the statistical probability of an accident, it does not bring it down to zero. Accidents are still happening, and I think they're happening because we're at the perfect intersection between uncanny valley capabilities of Tesla Autopilot and a complete lack of common sense, sometimes even boredom, from drivers. For more than 95% of all driving, Autopilot is capable and ready to take over driving duties. And it's so good that people are lulled into a false sense of security about just what their car can and can't do. It's when people are lulled into that false sense of security that things tend to go wrong. Take the accident in question. Again, I'm sorry we're not reproducing the video. It was early in the morning and the sun was low in the sky, casting long shadows. The sun was on the driver's left and the truck, a large object with a white roof, was directly in front of the vehicle. It was sadly the perfect storm for Tesla's Autopilot system, if indeed it was active, or the perfect storm for the driver not seeing clearly what was ahead. I'm presuming that sun glare would have been extreme and the white reflective truck roof probably exacerbated the problem, especially as Tesla uses visual sensors rather than radar. I'm guessing neither human nor computer systems would have had a particularly easy time differentiating glare from truck. And to be clear here, I'm not making excuses. I'm saying that the environment most likely played a part, just as it has in the past when fatalities and other accidents involving Autopilot have revolved around driver fault and a very difficult environment where Autopilot could not clearly see what was going on because of contrast and bright light. But here's the thing, Tesla's T's and C's very clearly state that Autopilot self-driving is a beta feature and really cautions drivers not to rely on it. But because we humans are lazy, we always do, because when something appears to be doing a good job, we're lulled into a false sense of security. And those sharing videos of successful Autopilot sessions where they are again sometimes over-relying on the car's system further lull others into that belief that they don't have to pay attention, that they do not have to supervise the car, that they can get bored or distracted. Right now, every time you must pay attention, you must use the system correctly because Autopilot is, in its current operation, about level 2 or level 3 at best. It's not fully autonomous or near it. Functionally, it's close to 95% of more of driving duties, but that last 5%, that's the difference between level 3 and level 5. So no, I don't blame Tesla, but I do believe that we all need to better understand how these systems work, how we can make these systems safer and conversely unsafe, and understand that whatever the autonomous system, unless we are a passive passenger, we all contribute to its efficacy. But that's something for legislators for the auto industry to agree on, and frankly for Tesla to consider redefining to ensure that beta software is not used as release candidate or shipped software. That's it. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to help us make more videos like this, please do like, comment and subscribe, and you can support us using one of the links below. Thanks very much to the folks scrolling by on my right. They are our charged up patrons. Thanks also go to Jeffrey Songster, John Lyons and Regine Fellows, who are our self-driving patrons, and extra special thanks to our Starman level patrons, Marcel Ward, Reggie Watts, JP Fagerbag and Sean Udea. If you're looking for something else to watch from this channel, then Google thinks you might enjoy this one, so check it out if you haven't, and I'll be back soon with more content for you all to enjoy. In the meantime, wash your hands, stay safe, and strive to become a better, kinder human. That's it. Thanks for joining me. Keep evolving.